A scream echoes through the prehistoric forest as a young hunter collapses, a deep gash in his side. His fellow cavemen rush to his aid, eyes wide with fear and determination. The hunt has gone terribly wrong. An angry beast's horn found its mark. Blood pours from the wound, and for a moment the small clan panics. Will this be the end for their friend? How could Stone Age people possibly save someone gravely injured or ill without modern medicine? Before we continue our journey back in time, if you enjoy exploring history's untold stories, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. It really helps us bring you more adventures into the past. Now, let's step back into the world of our ancestors and discover what cavemen actually did when someone got sick. You kneel beside him, heart pounding. The hunter lies on his side, groaning softly, hands shaking from the shock. Blood seeps through his fur garments, staining the earth beneath. The rest of the tribe forms a wide circle, breaths held, not yet speaking. They've seen wounds before, but this is worse than usual. The elders step forward. You're still breathing fast as one of them, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, gestures for silence. She's the memory keeper, the one who's lived long enough to have seen sickness and wounds and recovery before. Her voice is low and steady as she crouches beside the fallen man. He is not gone, she says, but he is slipping. Slipping. You've heard that word before, spoken around the fire when someone couldn't open their eyes anymore. It means their spirit is walking somewhere else, not dead, but not here either. You help carry him. The hunters, still strong from the chase, gently lift his body and carry him between them like a fallen branch. You walk ahead, pushing through low ferns and ducking under the tall pines. The wind smells of wet bark and something older like cold stone and old bones. Back at the camp, the fire has already been rekindled. A thick animal skin is spread near the flame, and the tribe's healer, the one with ochre-painted fingers and bundles of dried roots hanging from her hut, is ready. You set him down gently. The healer moves quickly. She doesn't use tools the way people from the future might. No scalpels, no white gloves, only sharpened flint, bone needles, smoke, and knowledge passed down from mothers and grandmothers before her. She takes a flat piece of stone and grinds dried moss into powder. Then, from a pouch tied at her hip, she pulls strips of deer, sinew, soaked and supple. These will tie the skin back together if the bleeding stops. But first she must clean the wound. Boiled water is poured slowly over the gash, sending steam into the air. The injured man twitches, groans, but does not wake. The healer dips her fingers into a blackened paste, a mix of ash and resin, and gently presses it into the torn flesh. It stinks, but it stops the bleeding. You watch closely. You're not the healer's apprentice, but in a tribe this small, everyone must learn something. The old woman doesn't speak as she works. Her focus is absolute. She threads a thin bone needle through the skin, tying careful loops, murmuring words you don't recognize. Maybe they are prayers, maybe just breath. The others gather around. Some whisper, others sit in silence. They're not afraid of death exactly. They've seen too much of it for that. But sickness and wounds, those are still mysterious. You never know which spirits are hiding in the blood, which breath might be the last. By nightfall, the wound is closed. The hunter lies wrapped in thick fur near the fire. His breathing is shallow but steady. You sit nearby watching his chest rise and fall. The healer has placed a carved bone charm near his head. It's shaped like a bear, strong, protective, a symbol, maybe more. No one speaks much that night. You eat roots and dried meat, chew slowly, listen to the wind move through the cave entrance. Somewhere beyond the fire's glow, wolves howl. You feel the pull of sleep, but you stay awake longer than usual, eyes fixed on the hunter's still face. You wonder what the tribe would do if he doesn't wake. The next morning comes cold. The air smells of wet stone and wood smoke. You rise and stretch your stiff limbs, brushing frost from your blanket. The hunter is still alive. That's the first thing you check. His skin is pale, but he's breathing. The healer is already up. She's at the edge of camp, grinding bark and leaves into a paste. Her fingers are stained green and brown, and her eyes have the hard, tired look of someone who fought all night to keep a spirit from drifting too far. You join her, crouching silently beside the stone slab she's working on. She doesn't look at you. You want to learn? She asks quietly. You nod. So she shows you. This one she taps a clump of green leaves is willow bark. She says it pulls pain away, like a thorn being drawn from flesh. You sniff it. It smells bitter and sharp. Another, a twisted root with pale flesh, helps fever. You recognize it as something you've seen growing near the riverbank. The last one, a moldy clump scraped from an old elk bone, she calls spirit rot. She says it keeps the poison from spreading through the blood. You don't ask how she knows these things. She just does. Knowledge like this doesn't come from books. It comes from trial, from loss, from memory. Someone got sick once, long ago. Someone chewed that bark, drank that tea, and either lived or didn't. The healer remembers. And now, so do you. As the day warms, the camp becomes quieter. No hunting today. No movement far from the fire. Everyone stays close, eyes flicking toward the fur-wrapped body every few minutes. The tribe can't afford to lose him. He's one of the best trackers, strong and fast. But more than that, he is known. He has a laugh people miss when it's gone. By midday, he stirs. His eyes open just for a moment, and he whispers something. No one can understand it, but it's a good sign. The healer presses more paste into the wound and places a damp cloth on his forehead. You sit beside him for a long time, watching the fever come and go like waves. Sometimes he trembles. Sometimes he smiles at nothing. You wonder what dreams chase him in that strange place between waking and sleep. Maybe he's running with animals. Maybe he's talking to his ancestors. Maybe he's just floating in warmth. The healer speaks that night. Her voice is low but strong. She tells stories of other sicknesses, times when children stopped breathing, when mothers couldn't rise after birth, when hunters coughed blood for weeks and wasted away by the fire. Some lived, some didn't. The tribe listened, not for fear, but for remembering. Each sickness taught something. Each death gave knowledge. And sometimes, just sometimes, a miracle happened. Not the kind with gods or lightning, but the kind where the body fought back, where warmth returned to cold fingers, where breath came steady after days of silence, the kind of miracle that felt like a second chance. The wind shifts sometime in the night. You feel it before you hear it, a cool draft creeping through the cracks in the stone walls of the shelter, carrying with it the scent of pine sap and distant snow. You wake slowly, eyelids heavy, muscles stiff. The fire has burned low, just glowing coals now, casting faint orange halos across the sleeping forms of your clan. The healer is awake, of course. She always is. She sits by the injured hunter's side, her back straight despite the cold, her eyes moving slowly over his face. She reaches forward and lays a hand against his cheek, checking the heat of his skin. Her touch is careful, practice not tender, but not cold either. You watch her, not speaking. The hunter's fever has not broken. His body still trembles every so often, a ripple running through his chest and legs like a shiver, though the cave is warm. His skin has a faint shine of sweat. You sit up quietly, not wanting to disturb the others, and crawl closer. The healer speaks without looking at you. Fever dreams walk close to death, she says. You nod, though the words feel heavy in your chest. She dips a cloth in a small bowl of melted snow water, mixed with willow and ash bark. Gently, she presses it to the hunter's forehead. You take the cloth when she offers it to you. The water smells bitter, earthy, like tree bark and thyme. You wipe his brow, watching his breathing. You've seen fever before. Everyone has. But never like this. You wonder what's happening inside his body, what the healer might call spirit sickness. You don't know if it's real or not, but it's what she was taught, that when a wound isn't clean, it calls dark spirits. That rot can settle in the blood, invisible and deadly, and sometimes even the best plants can't chase it out. She rummages through her leather pouch and pulls out a dried mushroom cap, dark and shriveled. She breaks a small piece and tucks it under the hunter's tongue. For visions, she murmurs. If his spirit must walk, let it find its way back. You don't know what kind of mushroom it is. The healer keeps many secrets. Some are for healing, some for sleep, and only a few are for crossing between worlds. The hunter swallows unconsciously, his face twitching in some dream you can't see. As the morning grows brighter, others wake. The tribe moves slowly, quietly, as if afraid too much noise might drive the hunter further into the dark. A few young ones gather dry sticks and stir the fire. Smoke curls upward in lazy trails, carrying warmth back into the bones of the cave. A hunter named Olek kneels beside you. He's older, broader than most, his beard streaked with gray. He claps a hand on your shoulder, not hard, but solid. He'll fight, he says. He's stubborn like the winter. You nod, but you say nothing. Oleg reaches into his satchel and pulls out a strip of smoked meat, offering it to you. You chew slowly, your eyes still on the healer's hands as she mixes another bitter paste, this time with honey and ground seed. You watch the way she moves slow, precise, patient. Then you notice something strange. She pauses and leans close to the hunter's side, sniffing the wound. You edge closer, and then you smell it too, a faint, sour scent, just beneath the herbs and cloth. Not strong, not yet, but different. Your stomach tightens. Infections don't smell good. You've seen wounds fester before. When the stink starts, the rot isn't far behind. The healer says nothing, but her face hardens. She sends a child to gather fresh pine, resin, and salt if there is any left. Salt is rare, traded from far-off groups who live near the sea, but the tribe keeps a small pouch of it for medicine, not food. Salt kills bad spirits, the healer once said. You watch her clean the wound again, this time deeper, scraping away some of the dried blood and cloth. The hunter twitches, moans, but does not wake. She speaks to him softly in words too old for you to fully understand. You've heard them only in ritual, when someone is dying or being born. Later, when the sun is high and the fire has grown strong again, you are sent out with Oleg and 2 others to gather supplies. Not food medicine. You walk silently through the forest, the snow crunching under your feet, animal tracks crisscrossing through the brush. The air is cold, but it clears your mind. Oleg points to a bark-covered tree with yellowish lichen. You remember? He asks. You nod. Fever bark. You and the others peel strips carefully, placing them in woven sacks. You collect juniper berries, resin from a felled pine, and a cluster of moss that the healer uses for packing wounds. You also find a small stand of yarrow, its feathery leaves poking up through the snow. The healer says it keeps wounds clean. You gather as much as you can, fingers numb and red. As you return to camp, the sky begins to darken again. Not from night, but clouds. A storm is coming. The wind bites harder. Snow dances in sideways, bursts through the trees. You lower your head and push forward, feet sinking into deep drifts. By the time you return to camp, the wind is howling. The others rush to cover the cave entrance with thick hides, anchoring them with stones. The fire is stoked higher. Everyone draws close. You hand the healer the things you've gathered. She nods once. Good. Then she gets to work. The storm strikes hard. Winds roar like hungry spirits outside the cave. Snow slashes at the hide covering the entrance, and the fire's flames bend under the push of cold air. Everyone huddles close, not just for warmth, but for something deeper. Safety. Togetherness. Even the strongest hunters sit shoulder to shoulder, as if being apart would let the storm take them one by one. You sit near the healer. She unwraps the new herbs you gathered, her hands working quickly now. There's no time for the slow, methodical pace of mourning. The wound smells worse. The skin around it is red and tight, hot to the touch. She tears thin strips of bark and dunks them into boiled pine resin, mixing in the yarrow you pulled from the snow. She speaks under her breath, not to the tribe, not even to the hunter, but to the wound itself. Out, she murmurs. Out of the blood, out of the flesh. It's not just medicine anymore. It's ritual. She packs the pulp into the gash, pressing firmly, ignoring the flinch that jerks the hunter's leg. He's still somewhere between sleep and the long walk. Not conscious, but not lost. You help her tie a new wrap. It's made from a tan deer's stomach, soft and breathable, but strong. It's what they use when fur would be too heavy and raw skin would stick. You wrap it tight, just as she taught you. Not too tight to stop blood, but tight enough to stop spirits. The firelight flickers across his face. Sweat beads along his forehead. His lips part slightly, and he breathes in shallow gasps, like someone dreaming they're underwater. The healer places a carved stone in his hand, smooth, black, and shaped like a bird. She doesn't say why. You just watch. As night deepens and the storm beats on, the healer tells you a story. She doesn't raise her voice. She just leans close, so only you can hear her. Long ago, when my mother's mother was young, she begins, a fever took half the camp. No wounds, no beasts, just heat in the head and shivers in the spine. You picture it, people collapsing, skin burning, eyes rolling back in their heads. She was the only one who lived, the healer says, her voice steady. She said the spirits tried to take her, but she tricked them. She lay so still they thought she was already gone. You shiver, but not from cold. She told me that sickness has rules, the healer says, tapping her head. It watches. It waits. But it doesn't like strength or stillness. It likes fear. You nod slowly, the fire crackling between you. Don't be afraid of it, she says, even when it comes close. She reaches into a pouch and gives you a strip of dried root. Chew this, she adds, keeps the spirits out of your breath. You chew, and it burns bitter in your mouth, earthy and sharp, like old bark soaked in river water. The next morning, the snow has buried everything outside. You push the hide covering aside just enough to look. White hills roll where the camp used to be. No tracks, no trees, just endless pale silence. The world feels frozen in time, but inside, the fire still burns. The tribe has survived the storm, at least for now. The hunter stirs again. His lips move, and this time, words form. Not full sentences, but names. Familiar ones. His brother, his mother, his old dog, long gone. He is calling home. The healer leans close, smiles for the first time in days. He's fighting now. She mixes another drink, water with honey, root, and a pinch of ash, and tilts his head gently to pour it between his lips. He swallows. Not much, but enough. You feel something lift. It's not joy. Not yet. But it's not dread either. Just space. A bit of air in your chest. Hope. The healer stands and stretches her back. Her hands are red and cracked. Her eyes look older now, like each hour has added another line to her face. You'll take the next watch, she tells you. You nod, and so you sit beside him, wrapped in fur, listening to the pop of pine sap in the fire. You whisper stories to him, ones he told you during the hunt, about the deer that danced on two legs, about the spirit bear that walks backward through dreams. You don't know if he hears you, but the fever has stopped rising, and the stink of rot has faded. Later that afternoon, the snow finally stops. The wind quiets, leaving a thick, heavy silence. You step outside briefly, fur wrapped around your shoulders, boots deep in white. The sky has turned the color of old, bone pale, unmoving, and even the birds are still. The camp is buried up to your knees. No movement, no animals, just cold and quiet. But something feels different now. Inside, the fire roars again, higher and brighter. The hunter's color has begun to return, a little red in the cheeks, a little more strength in the breath. His body still lies limp, but he no longer twitches. His sleep is calm now, deep. The healer leans on her staff and watches him with tired eyes. You bring her a carved bowl of broth. She nods and drinks slowly, then begins sorting through her pouch again. Her hands move slower than before. Her body leans more. The last few days have taken something from her, not just energy, but something deeper. But still, she prepares. You ask her, finally, what happens when the herbs don't work? She looks at you for a long time before answering. Then we burn the fever out, she says. She doesn't mean fire, she means sweat. You've seen it before the old way. Stones are heated in the fire, pulled out with long sticks and placed into a shallow pit. Water is poured over them. Steam rises, thick and choking. People sit around it, covered in hides, breathing it in. Sometimes the sick are placed there, sometimes they scream. The healer says it drives out what the earth cannot heal, like drawing poison from a snake bite or spirits from a cursed object. But it's dangerous. The weak don't always survive it. The hunter isn't ready yet. Not today, but maybe tomorrow. That evening, something strange happens. You're sitting beside the fire, carving a new spear shaft, when you hear a soft grunt. You turn and the hunter is looking at you, really looking. His eyes are clear, he blinks, then his lips twitch. He tries to speak but coughs. Instead, a rough, wet sound that pulls your stomach tight. You lean forward, grab the bowl of water, and press it gently to his mouth. He drinks, a few sips. It's enough. Where? He whispers, voice like dry leaves. Am I? You tell him he's home, that he's safe. He tries to sit up, but the healer is already beside him, pressing him down gently. Not yet, she says. You've fought enough. You help adjust his blanket. Someone behind you lets out a relieved breath. then another, then someone chuckles. The tension in the cave breaks like a cracking log. It's not celebration, not yet, but it's close. The healer looks at you. You did well, she says simply. You don't reply. You just sit back and feel something warm settle in your chest. Pride, maybe, or relief, or both. That night, you have a dream. You're walking through tall grass, alone, under a blood-red moon. You hear whispering all around, voices you don't recognize, but somehow understand. They're speaking of sickness, of healing, of bones buried in ice. You walk faster. Ahead, there's a figure crouched beside a fire. It's the healer, but younger, stronger. Her face painted, her eyes glowing like amber. She doesn't speak, but she hands you something. A bundle of herbs, a stone knife, a strip of sinew. She nods once. You wake up cold and sweating. The fire is low, and the hunter is sleeping again. His breath is steady. Outside, the wind has returned, but softer now, more like a whisper than a scream. You lie back and stare at the cave ceiling, wondering if the spirits were watching you all along, and if they're done testing you or just beginning. The next morning begins with birdsong. It's faint at first, a few chirps from beyond the snow-laden trees, but it's enough to make everyone pause. You notice it while fetching water from the fire-heated pot, and others hear it too. A few heads rise from bedrolls. Someone chuckles softly. After days of blizzards and silence, it feels like a sign. The world is stirring again. Inside the cave, the air is warm and thick with smoke and breath. The hunter is sitting up, not for long, only propped against the stone wall with fur behind his back, but his eyes are sharp now, focused. He looks thinner, pale, but there's something steady in him. When he sees you, he nods, a real nod. The kind he used to give after spotting tracks during a hunt. You kneel beside him, offering a bowl of hot broth. He takes it with both hands and drinks in small sips. His voice is stronger now. I dreamed, he says between sips. I was chasing something, a deer maybe, but it kept running into the clouds. You don't say anything at first. Then you tell him that the healer said he fought hard, that most wouldn't have made it back. He laughs softly. Didn't want to leave this ugly world yet. The healer walks over, her staff tapping against the stone. She places a hand on his shoulder and says nothing, just stands there a moment, her presence heavy but calm. Then she moves on. It's her way of saying, you're still needed here. Later, the fire is rebuilt in a tighter circle. No more storm. The world outside has begun to thaw. The children play near the entrance, tossing bone dice and pretending to be hunters. Someone starts shaping arrowheads. The quiet tension from before has been replaced by a gentle hum of life returning to rhythm. You sit with the healer, grinding herbs for new pastes. She gives you more tasks now, tells you which leaves soothe stomachs, which roots ease breath, which mushrooms can dull pain, and which should never be touched unless someone is dying and needs peace. You ask her how she learned all this. She smiles faintly. I watched, I listened, I lost people. That's how we learn. She hands you a dried flower with black petals and says nothing more. You place it carefully in her pouch. The hunter's wound still needs attention. Each day, the healer unwraps it, checks for redness, smell, swelling. You help clean it with boiled salt water and change the moss-packed dressing. The edges of the gash are knitting together slowly, but still tender, still vulnerable. The hunter barely winces anymore. You can tell he hates sitting still. He's always been a mover, a climber, someone who follows trails for hours without rest. Now, even standing makes him dizzy. But he doesn't complain. Not once. Better than being dead, he jokes. But he watches the others train spears and sharpen flint with a kind of quiet hunger. On the 5th day, the healer says something new. He should sweat. You blink at her. She repeats herself firmer. It's time. You remember the fire pit, the hot stones, the herbs and steam. That night, the tribe prepares a sweat lodge. It's a small dome built from bent branches and layered hides, just outside the cave mouth. The snow is cleared in a wide circle, and stones are heated in the central fire until they glow red like sun hearts. You help carry the hunter slowly, carefully into the lodge. It's dark inside, pitch black once the hide flap closes. The only sound is breath, the creak of skin on leather, the quiet drip of melting snow outside. Then the water hits the stones. Steam rises with a hiss, sharp and wet. It fills your nose, your mouth, your lungs. You sit across from the hunter, watching his face glow in the shadows. The healer begins to chant soft words in the old tongue, calling to warmth, to spirits of healing, to ancestors who knew pain and walked through it. The hunter breathes deeply, sweat beading on his brow. You breathe with him, and in that heat, time feels soft. There's no blizzard, no cave, no wounds or fear, just rhythm, breath, steam, healing. The air inside the sweat lodge grows thick and heavy. Steam clings to your skin, rolling in waves down your back and chest. You feel your heartbeat slow and deepen, as if in time with something older than yourself, something ancient. The hunter's eyes are closed, his head tilted back slightly. Sweat trickles down his cheeks, soaking the fur collar around his shoulders. The healer tosses another handful of dried herbs onto the stones. A burst of sharp, piney scent fills the small space yarrow, maybe or juniper. The aroma is grounding, familiar. It cuts through the weight of the steam and draws your focus inward. You breathe deeply, feeling your lungs stretch. The hunter exhales slowly. Then he speaks. Feels like I'm inside the mountain. His voice is soft but steady. You smile. That's how it's supposed to feel, the healer murmurs. Her chant shifts into a low hum, now one that vibrates in your chest, like the sound of wind rolling across a frozen valley. You've heard this hum before, but only at burials or in rare moments of healing. It's not meant to be understood. It's meant to be felt. Another ladle of water splashes against the stones. The heat climbs again. You close your eyes for a moment. The darkness is total. No fire, no light, just heat, scent, and breath. You picture the hunter's body fighting white blood, boiling through his veins, washing away infection. You imagine his spirit wrestling whatever shadow tried to settle in his wound. You imagine him winning. When the flap opens, the cold rushes in like a wave. It hits your skin like ice. You gasp. The hunter coughs once, then grins. I'm still here. The healer chuckles, then pats your shoulder. He's through the fire. Back in the cave, he eats more than he has in days. Roasted roots, dried boar meat soaked in broth, a few berries frozen in a leather pouch. Each bite seems to return a bit of his color, a bit of himself. The others watch with quiet pride, not a celebration, but something close. That night, you sleep deeply. No dreams, just warmth and silence. The next morning, the healer pulls you aside. She hands you a bundle of dried herbs, tightly wrapped, tied with sinew. Inside are tiny bits of everything: moss, bark, flour, resin, medicine. You look up at her. For next time, she says. You nod, the weight of it sinking in. There will be a next time. Someone else will fall. A wound, an illness, a fever. And you'll remember this moment. The panic, the pain, the waiting, the hope, the heat, and the slow, steady return to life. Over the next few days, the snow begins to melt. Not quickly, just a little. Ice thins on the river. Sunlight lingers longer in the trees. The tribe begins to move again, not far, just beyond the cave's edge. Tracks reappear. Snares are set. Life resumes its rhythm. The hunter still limps, but he walks now. You follow him one morning to the stream. He crouches by the water, cupping it in his hands and splashing it on his face. He breathes deeply. I thought I was done, he admits. You kneel beside him. We all did. He laughs. Figures. I finally get some rest and y'all drag me back. You smile. He looks at you, more serious now. Thank you. You nod, unsure what to say. So you just sit in the quiet, watching the water rush around the stones. A few days pass. The air carries a different scent now, thawing bark, damp soil, distant animals. You notice how the ice around the cave mouth has begun to drip in steady rhythm. Every few seconds, a droplet falls, striking a rock with the same sound as a distant drum. The land is waking up. So is the tribe. You watch them sharpen spears, repair furs, crack open dried bones for marrow. But this time, there's a weight to your place among them. You're not just another face huddled by the fire. You help pull someone back. You've seen what it means when someone gets sick, not just fever and herbs, but the ache of waiting, the sting of fear, the careful hands of healing. And now, you're trusted. The healer invites you to walk with her. You follow her through the forest, away from the cave, down a narrow path you've never been allowed to take before. It winds through moss-covered trees, past a stream that bubbles even in winter. Eventually, you reach a fallen log, half consumed by fungus. She stops. "This is where I first learned," she says quietly. "My brother died right here." You blink, unsure if you heard her correctly. She crouches, running her hand along a patch of greenish lichen. "He fell during a storm. We didn't know how to stop the bleeding. I was young. I held his hand until he stopped shaking." You remain silent. "I buried him under this log," she continues. "Then I watched what grew from the earth above him. Every season, something different." She plucks a piece of bark and holds it to you. "You see that pattern?" she asks. "That's fever rot. The bark curls when it grows near bones." You nod. "Every death teaches us," she says, "if we pay attention." You walk back in silence. Later that evening, the hunter joins the fire circle. His gait is slow, but his voice is strong again. He tells a story about the first time he killed a wild boar, miming the way it charged him, eyes wild, tusks flashing. The children laugh. Someone tosses a pine cone at him in jest. He catches it midair, his reflexes returning. You find yourself smiling without thinking. It's strange how quickly the ache of those days, the fever, the fear, the sweat and silence begins to fade. Not forgotten, but tucked away, like a bone buried for safekeeping. In its place, the tribe carries something else. Pride, perhaps. Gratitude, a reminder. Not every sickness ends in death. At dawn, the healer hands you a leather pouch. "Yours now," she says. You open it carefully. Inside, dried willow bark, salt-stained moss, pine resin, 3 carved stones, and 1 bundle of red thread, the same kind she used to tie herbs at the hunter's side. Tools of healing, symbols of trust. You look up at her. "I'm not ready." She snorts. "Neither was I. But sickness doesn't wait for us to be ready." You nod. Something settles in your chest. Heavy, but right. One final task remains. That night, the healer lights a small fire alone, away from the cave. She places the hunter's old bandage, now stiff, with dried blood and ash, into the flames. You join her, watching it curl and blacken. "This is the closing," she says. "We give the sickness back to the earth. Let the flames take what we couldn't." The wind shifts, the smoke rises, and in that moment, something invisible lifts not from your shoulders, but from the air itself, like the last breath of winter, like the final whisper of pain. Gone. The next morning begins with warmth, not just from the fire, but from the light that spills into the cave, golden and low, stretching shadows across the stone floor. You wake slowly, breath calm, fur draped over your shoulders, the scent of ash and resin still clinging to your skin. Outside, the snow has thinned into icy patches, and the dirt path once buried is now soft and visible again. Footprints return to the world. The woods murmur with early signs of life. The hunter walks beside you. He carries a walking stick now, not because he needs it, but because it feels right. A mark of survival, of experience. "I don't remember much," he admits as you make your way down to the river. "Just flashes, pain, then heat, then dreams." You nod, remembering every hour of it. He pauses. "But I remember your voice." You glance at him. "I heard you telling stories," he says. "That's what pulled me back." You say nothing, but inside something warms. Later that day, the healer calls a meeting near the great stone, the place where stories are told, where hunters are named, where new children are welcomed. The whole tribe gathers, forming a ring, sitting cross-legged or perched on logs. The healer doesn't speak loudly. She doesn't need to. She simply lifts your hand into the air and says, "This one knows how to listen. This one has walked beside sickness and not turned away." You don't move. You don't know if you're supposed to speak, but the nods come, one by one. Heads dip with respect. Even the elders, whose eyes have seen more winters than the cave walls, give you their approval. Not a ceremony, not a title, just recognition. You are one of the hands that will keep others alive. From then on, your days change. You're called to check scrapes, burns, stomach aches. Children run to you with bee stings and bruises. The old man who always complained of aching knees now grins every time he sees you, as if your presence itself makes him feel stronger. You learn to hear the difference in coughs, sharp ones from cold, dry ones from dust, wet ones from infection. You learn how to hold a crying mother without needing to say anything at all. You learn that sometimes healing means silence, and sometimes it means singing softly beside someone's bedroll even if you don't know the words. One night, you return to the cave late. Your hands are stained with crushed roots. A child had a rash from eating something she shouldn't have. You worked over her for hours, chewing leaves into a paste, brushing it gently onto her skin. Now, alone near the fire, you finally rest. The hunter joins you, dropping beside you with a soft grunt. "Still saving lives?" he teases. You smirk, too tired to reply. He watches the flames. "You know," he says, "when I was out gone, or close to it, I saw my father." You turn to him. He was walking toward a mountain. Didn't say anything. Just looked back at me like he was waiting to see if I'd follow. He pauses. "I almost did." He doesn't finish the thought. He doesn't need to. You sit there together, silent but connected, two people who now share something invisible and permanent. The sickness didn't just scar his body. It carved something into both of you. And in that silence, a bond is sealed. The next morning, a fog rolls over the valley. Thick and pale, it clings low to the ground, muffling the world like a wool blanket. You wake before most, stepping outside the cave to find the trees half drowned in mist. The forest is quiet, no birds, no wind, just the sound of your own breath as you pull your fur tighter. It's the kind of day the elders call spirit heavy, a time when the veil between the living and the dead feels thinner. Inside the cave, you begin preparing the morning draft. Boiled bark, a pinch of dried lichen, a root that tastes like smoke, the kind that warms the chest and steadies the breath. The hunter joins you, limping less now. He carries an armful of wood and drops it beside the fire with a grin. "I can work again," he says. You raise an eyebrow. "Well, soon," he amends, flexing his leg. Midday, a visitor arrives. Not a stranger, an old woman from another camp, 2 valleys west. Her back is bent like a bow, and her voice sounds like gravel, but her eyes are sharp. She brings news of another clan. Illness, children coughing through the night, a hunter who can't keep food down. She came alone, through snow. At her age, that's how bad it is. The healer listens carefully, then turns to you. "We'll go," she says simply. You pack quickly. Dried herbs, salves, charcoal paste, bandages made from woven grass and rabbit fur. You wrap your bundle in leather, sling it over your shoulder. The hunter wants to come, but she shakes her head. Not yet. He doesn't argue. As you leave, he places a hand on your arm. "Bring them back," he says. "The journey is long and cold. The path takes you through dense pines and across a frozen stream. Your feet slip on stones slick with ice, but the healer moves like she's made of smoke, silent, sure, steady. You follow her closely, listening to the crunch of snow and the occasional raven overhead. When you arrive at the other camp, the air smells wrong, sour, heavy, the scent of sickness. You're led to a dark shelter, smoke curling from the roof hole. Inside, the heat hits you like a wall. The room is thick with breath and panic. 3 children lie on the floor, wrapped in furs, skin flushed and damp. A woman leans against the far wall, her eyes glassy. She coughs a deep, wet sound and turns away. The healer doesn't hesitate. She kneels by the children, checking their skin, their pulses, the dryness of their mouths. She snaps her fingers, and you hand her the bark, the lichen, the water flask. You move without thinking now, like your hands are part of hers. That night, you don't sleep. You sit beside one of the boys, fanning him gently, wiping sweat from his brow. His breath rasps in and out, every inhale a struggle, every exhale a question. You whisper to him not words of healing, just sound, a voice in the dark, proof that he's not alone. The healer works beside you, brewing tea, crushing seeds, humming low. One child's fever breaks near dawn, the other 2 hold on. You chew a strip of dried root to stay awake, your hands shake, your eyes burn, but you don't stop. You can't. The next morning, pale light filters in through the hide flap above the fire pit. It's weak, barely enough to light the space, but it brings color back into the room. You stir from a shallow sleep, still seated, head resting against the dirt wall. Your spine aches. Your limbs are stiff, but you don't move at first, because the little boy you stayed with all night is breathing evenly now. No rattling, no twitching, just calm, slow rhythm. You watch his chest rise and fall under the fur wrap, and for a moment, you do nothing but breathe with him. Then you reach over, Brush a strand of sweat-damp hair from his forehead and let your body fully relax for the first time in hours. He's still here. Outside, the camp is quiet. Sickness has hushed everything. No laughter, no chopping of wood. Even the dogs lie curled in silence. But the healer is already moving. She has no time to rest, not yet. She speaks with the clan's elders, trades herbs for fish, and gathers news about the others who've fallen ill. You see her gently touch a woman's chest, her palm resting between the collarbones. The woman's lips are cracked. Her breath smells sweet, but not in a good way. Rotten sweet. The healer frowns, pulls back. She may not last a day, she says quietly. You nod. Not every sickness is meant to be healed. You spend the day mixing new remedies from what little this clan has in storage. Nettle, crushed pine needles, boiled water infused with heated stones. You stir it slowly with a carved bone ladle. The smell isn't pleasant, but it settles the gut and clears the lungs. The healer watches your work. You're doing it without thinking, she says. You pause. That's good, she adds. It means it's in you now. You offer the bowl to one of the elders, a man with shaking hands and sweat along his neck. He drinks slowly, doesn't speak, just nods. By nightfall, another child improves. You and the healer take turns resting in short shifts, neither of you sleeping for more than an hour at a time. The fire is kept low, just enough to keep the air moving. The woman, with the sweet breath, doesn't wake again. She passes silently, sometime just before dawn. You wrap her gently, cover her face, and help dig a resting place in the half-frozen ground. The earth is hard, the digging is slow, but it's done before the sun rises fully. No wailing, just stillness and a few murmured words. When the final stone is placed, the healer places a sprig of dried sage atop it, then turns and walks away. By the third day, the sickness breaks its grip. Those who survive begin to move again, talking in hushed tones, eating small portions, tending to one another. Children laugh softly as they try to stand. The elders smile more. Even the dogs bark again, just once. Life returns. You and the healer prepare to leave. As you pack your supplies, the boy you helped walks over. He's still weak, wrapped in a fur too big for his frame, but he reaches out and presses a small carved figure into your hand, an animal, maybe a bear or a wolf. His eyes meet yours, no words. You squeeze the gift and nod. He nods back. The healer leads you back home through snow and slush and fog. The silence between you feels earned now, comfortable. When you arrive, the hunter is waiting by the fire, carving something from a flat bone. He stands when he sees you and walks forward slowly. Without a word, he hugs you. Not long, just one arm across your shoulder, solid and warm. Then he steps back and grins. Took you long enough. You smile. He taps the pouch on your hip. What'd you learn? You think for a moment, then answer honestly that we don't heal sickness. We just remind the body how to fight. He laughs. Sounds like something the healer would say. You shrug. She taught me. The night after you return, the fire crackles louder than usual. It could be the new wood green, damp from the thaw, or maybe it's just your ears, still tuned to the hush of the sick camp. Either way, it fills the space with a gentle, steady rhythm. You sit close, hands warmed by the glow, the carved animal still tucked in your pouch. Around the fire, the tribe gathers. It's not a celebration, not exactly, but people talk more tonight. There's laughter again. The smell of roasted roots and fish drifts through the air. Children chase each other in little bursts, their bare feet slapping against stone. The heaviness of the long winter seems to be lifting. The healer is quiet. She sits across from you, eyes half closed, gently tapping a rhythm on her knee with one finger. When you catch her glance, she simply nods. You nod back. No words needed. The next morning, the hunter approaches with an idea. You've been learning how to fix people, he says, smirking. Now come help me fix something else. He leads you outside the cave to a spot beneath a low cliff where an old structure of woven branches and hide stands crooked and half collapsed. Used to be our drying hut, he explains. Storms took it last year. Thought it was time to rebuild. You spend the day working beside him, weaving branches, tying knots, lifting poles. Your hands ache by noon, but it feels good, the kind of tired that settles deep in the bones in a satisfying way. As you work, you talk. Not about wounds, not about sickness, just about life. He tells you about the first time he missed a deer because his hand shook. You tell him about the night you thought the little boy wouldn't make it. He listens, really listens. Strange, he says finally, how being close to death makes you feel more alive. You pause, then nod, or more awake. That night, the healer gives you a gift. Wrapped in a strip of worn leather is a small bowl carved from a dark red stone you've never seen before. It's heavy in your hands, cool to the touch. Along the inside rim, etched symbols spiral inward. Some you recognize: herbs, wind, breath. Others are older, deeper. This was my teacher's, she says, and her teachers before her. You run your fingers along the grooves. She gave it to me when I treated my first dying man, and he lived. You look up. The healer's face is soft, tired maybe, or proud, or both. Now it's yours. You don't know what to say, so you just whisper, "Thank you." That night, your dreams shift. You find yourself walking through mist again, but this time it's warm, not cold. Shapes pass around you: the hunter, the healer, the boy with the carved figure, all silent, all glowing faintly with the firelight of memory. At the center of it all is a stone circle. Inside, someone is lying down, breathing shallowly. A stranger, faceless but familiar in their struggle. You kneel beside them, placing your hand on their chest, and wait. The dream lingers as you wake. You can still feel the stone under your knees, still hear the shallow breath of the stranger. The warmth of your hand on their chest, it felt real. You lie still for a moment, letting it settle. Then, slowly, you sit up. The fire has burned low, but the coals glow a deep orange. Today, something feels different. Not outside, the weather is the same. The camp's still quiet, but inside. As if the dream gave you something, or reminded you of something you already had. You rise, gather your pouch, and step outside. The healer is already by the stream, kneeling on a flat stone, washing strips of hide in the icy water. She doesn't look up as you approach. "Dream again?" she asks. You nod. She wrings out the hide, then finally glances over. They come more often now. You sit beside her. "Means you're listening," she says. "Means something's trying to speak back." You dip your fingers into the cold water. The chill runs up your arm like lightning. "You'll have to learn to understand what the dreams want," she adds. "But that takes time and silence. A lot of silence." You both sit in it for a while. The wind stirs the trees. Somewhere, an owl hoots. The stream murmurs beneath your hands. You don't speak again until the hides are rinsed and hung, and the healer has wandered off into the woods, humming softly. That afternoon, someone else falls ill. An old man, one of the quiet ones. He rarely speaks unless spoken to, and even then only in single words. But now he lies curled in his corner of the cave, clutching his stomach, breathing fast and shallow. You kneel beside him, feeling his forehead warm. Too warm. The healer returns shortly after, kneels across from you, and nods toward your pouch. "Go ahead," she says. You hesitate. Then, slowly, you open it. You pull out a pinch of bark, a sliver of root, a ball of moss. You crush them with a flat stone, mixing them into warm water, whispering the names under your breath. The healer watches but doesn't interfere. When you press the drink to the man's lips, he flinches at first, then swallows. His eyes meet yours for a brief moment, not trust, not yet, but something like acceptance. He drinks again. That night, you tend to him alone. You change his furs, keep the fire close, hum a tune your mother used to sing, something simple, just sound to fill the dark. At one point, he groans, rolls over, and mumbles something. Maybe a name, maybe nonsense. You brush his hair back and whisper, "You're safe." He stills. Breath deepens. You let out a quiet breath of your own. By dawn, he's sitting up, only for a minute. But he's upright, leaning against the stone wall, eyes half lidded. He drinks from the bowl himself this time. No help needed. You don't speak, just smile. He nods the smallest nod, then closes his eyes and rests. You sit back, staring into the fire, and realize you're no longer afraid. Not of sickness, not of failing, not even of losing. Because now you know, when someone gets sick, they're never truly alone, and neither are you. The sun climbs slowly that day. You're the first to step out of the cave, fur wrapped tight around your shoulders, breath fogging in front of your face. The earth beneath your feet is no longer frozen, just damp spring is closer now. You hear it in the drip of melted snow, see it in the swollen river, and feel it in the way your muscles ache less when you move. You walk toward the stream to refill the water bowls, and as you kneel by the edge, you notice your reflection. There's dirt on your cheeks, a bruise fading along your temple from where you bumped a low cave beam days ago. But your eyes look steady, clear. Not proud, just present. The wind carries the smell of pine and distant fire. You close your eyes just for a second and listen. Back in camp, the tribe is stirring. Someone starts a small fire near the drying hut. A mother braids her daughter's hair while humming softly. The hunter sharpens a flint blade, pausing every so often to stretch his leg. You nod at each other when your eyes meet. Nothing needs to be said. Then you hear coughing. You turn sharply, not fearfully, but instinctively, and find the source. A boy, maybe 6 winters old, sits with his knees pulled to his chest, coughing into his fur. Not deep, not yet, but the sound catches in his chest like a dry leaf. You kneel beside him. He flinches at first, but relaxes when he sees your face. You place your hand gently on his back and wait. The healer appears beside you moments later. Change in weather, she murmurs, could just be dust. But she watches closely as you examine him, gently pressing at his chest, listening to his breathing, offering a sip of water with a drop of pine syrup. She doesn't speak again until you've finished. You're learning the pauses, she says. You blink. The pauses? She nods. The space between the symptoms, the quiet signs. Most only treat what they can name, but healing lives in the unnamed. You look back at the boy, now resting, like listening for the space between heartbeats, she adds. That evening, she hands you a pouch of dried herbs and sends you into the woods. Find the grove where the moss grows red, she says. If you can find it, you'll know what to gather. You don't ask why, just go. The forest greets you in full color. Birds chirp low in the branches. Sunlight filters through wet leaves. Somewhere, a distant howl. You walk carefully, eyes scanning for signs, broken twigs, animal tracks, splashes of rust-colored moss. Hours pass. Then, you find it. A patch beneath a leaning tree, where the moss glows a dark red under the slanted light. You kneel, brush the surface gently, and begin to harvest not too much, just enough. Enough to share, enough to teach. When you return, the healer takes one look at your pouch and nods. You didn't take everything, she says. You shrug, she smiles. That's how I knew you were ready. That night, as the fire crackles and shadows stretch across the cave walls, the healer gives you your own satchel. Not a temporary pouch, but a real one, stitched with sinew, its leather worn smooth at the edges, stained with oil and smoke and time. Inside are your tools. Hollowed bone for measuring, a stone shard for cutting, sprigs of dried herbs tied in bundles. Your hand brushes the carved bowl, now sitting at the bottom. You're no longer learning, she says. Now you're remembering. You furrow your brow, confused. She gestures to the satchel. The knowledge has always been there. In you, in all of us. We're not inventing healing, we're recalling it. Passing it from hand to hand, voice to voice. You nod slowly, something inside you shifts. Not a sudden change, but a deeper anchoring, like a tree rooting itself more firmly into the ground. You aren't just helping, you are becoming. Over the next few days, your role in the tribe settles like dust after a storm. You're not the main healer, not yet, but your name is whispered beside scraped knees and queasy stomachs. Children run to you first when they fall. The elders call you over with a glance when someone winces from a sore shoulder. Even the dogs seem to circle you more often, pressing cold noses to your side before curling up nearby. One morning, a mother brings you her baby, colicky, restless, crying through the night. You feel the infant's chest, smell its breath, stroke its soft hair. Then you mix a tea of warm water, crushed mint, and the tiniest drop of honey stirred 12 times clockwise, as the healer once taught you. The mother watches as the baby drinks, slowly calms, and finally drifts into sleep in her arms. Tears fill her eyes. She doesn't speak, just touches your hand, nods, and walks away. You sit there for a long time, staring into the fire, letting the weight of trust sink in. Later that week, a small group returns from a distant hunt. One of them limps, not badly, but enough to raise concern. You kneel, peel back the leather wrapping, and find a long splinter of bone beneath the skin of his shin. You've never seen this before. Not like this. You glance at the healer. She nods once the quiet signal that this is yours to handle. You breathe in, out. You clean the wound with ash water, heat a flat rock in the fire, and press it lightly to the swollen flesh to numb it. Then, slowly, using a hooked thorn, you draw the shard free. The hunter bites down on a stick and groans, but the bone comes out clean. You pack the wound with moss, wrap it tight, and whisper a short, wordless chant. When you finish, the healer places her hand on your shoulder. "You will carry this knowledge long after I'm gone," she says softly. Your chest tightens. You don't know what to say, so you say nothing. The seasons begin to change again. You feel it in the breeze, still sharp, but gentler now. You see it in the buds forming on the bare trees, in the patches of green breaking through the snow-covered earth. The world is waking up, and so are you. You move differently now, slower, more deliberate. Not out of hesitation, but with purpose. Your steps are grounded, your gaze steady. Where once you followed the healer's every move, now you take the lead when needed. You don't even realize it at first, but the tribe does. One evening, as the stars begin to emerge, a young girl trips near the fire pit and slices her palm on a jagged rock. Before anyone can call for help, she runs straight to you, bleeding, crying, but trusting. You kneel, take her hand gently, and examine the wound. It's deep, but not dangerous. Still, it needs care. You clean it with warm water and dried sage. Use spider silk and sap to bind the edges closed, then wrap it in soft moss and leather. She watches your every move, wide-eyed and silent. When you're done, she whispers, "It doesn't hurt anymore." You smile. "Good, but you'll need to keep it clean." She nods, then hugs you fiercely before running off to her family. You sit for a moment, staring at your own hands. These are healer's hands now. Later that night, the hunter joins you by the fire. He hands you a carved stick, a smooth piece of driftwood, shaped into the form of a bird with wings spread wide. "Thought it might guard your medicine pouch," he says, tossing it lightly into your lap. You turn it over in your fingers. "It's a bird," he adds, "but it's also a message." You raise an eyebrow. He grins. "Means you're not stuck in one place anymore. You can move, you can choose." You nod slowly. You hadn't thought about that before, what it means to be trusted, not just needed. That same night, the healer calls you to her side. She's been quiet lately, more than usual. Slower to move, often resting longer by the fire. You noticed, but said nothing. She gestures for you to sit beside her. "I'll be leaving soon," she says. Matter of fact. You stiffen. "Where?" She smiles. "Not far. Just away." You know what she means. Not a journey, not a camp, but the other kind of leaving the quiet one, the last one. You shake your head. "You're still strong." "I am," she nods, "but the time is near, and I've done my work." You don't speak. She places her hand over yours. "You will take care of them. You already are." The next day, she disappears into the woods alone. No one stops her. No one follows. The tribe knows. Some nod. Some cry quietly. Some light fires or place small stones in the river. You sit by the cave's edge until nightfall, holding the red stone bowl in your lap. You feel her presence in every breath of wind, in every crackle of the fire. In the rhythm of your own heartbeat, she is not gone. Not really. She lives in the bowl, the pouch, the smoke, the stories, in you. The days grow longer. Spring pushes away the last of the snow. Flowers bloom cautiously in cracks and along the riverbanks. Birds return, their songs weaving through the early morning light. Life, once fragile, hums again with quiet certainty. You rise before the sun now. It's become a habit checking the fire, preparing water, laying out herbs for the day ahead. You do it with ease, like breathing. The healer's absence is felt, but it isn't empty. She's still here in the way the moss is packed, in the rhythms of the chants, in the way your fingers move without needing to think. One morning, a stranger arrives. He comes from a neighboring camp, lean and weather-worn, carrying a child on his back. The boy is pale, feverish, too weak to lift his head. The man's voice trembles as he speaks. They said there was someone here who could help. You don't hesitate. You take the boy in your arms, motion the man toward the fire, and begin. Warmth, water, herbs, breath, all the things you've done before. But this time, it's different. This time, no one's watching you for instruction. This time, you are the healer. As the boy rests, the man looks at you. "What did people do before?" he asks softly. When someone got sick, you glance at the boy, wrapped in fur and safe now, the color already beginning to return to his cheeks. "They watched," you reply. "They listened. They wrapped them in warmth, gave them water, whispered songs, and waited." He nods, thoughtful. "They didn't always understand," you add, "but they cared. And sometimes that was enough." That night, you sit beneath the stars with the bowl in your lap. The fire crackles gently. The night air is cool, but not biting. The sky stretches wide above you, endless, dark, beautiful. Around you, the camp is quiet, resting, safe. You close your eyes. You hear the wind in the trees, the slow rhythm of breathing, the memory of footsteps in moss. And somewhere, deep within, the voice of the healer, not as a whisper, but as a part of you now, living on, not in words, but in presence, in practice, in care. So the next time someone falls, you'll rise without fear, because now you know what to do. You know what cavemen actually did when someone got sick.